Valravn is the one and only dive coaster located at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And when it opened in 2016, it broke a multitude of records, including being the tallest, fastest, and longest of the model. It was also the first of the model to feature the controversial vest restraints, which we'll get to a little later. But first, let's take a dive into the ride experience. Valravn starts with a short left turn out of the station, which, if you're sitting on the left side of the train, gives you a great crowd interaction point with the main queue. But this doesn't last long as you quickly ascend the 223-foot tall lift. While you go up, you get a great view of the surrounding area. Once you reach the top, you take a wide right turn before hanging over the edge of the drop. You hang over the edge for around 3 seconds before dropping 214 feet. This drop is good, but in my opinion, it's not anything special. I much prefer drops with a lot of whip and air time, like the drop on Maverick, or long, sustained drops like the one found on Millennium Force. And Valravn sort of feels like a middle ground of the two, so it's not really my favorite. After the drop, you head into a floaty Immelman, which was the tallest inversion in the world upon opening. After this, you have a long right turn into the mid-course brake run, which slows down the train to a crawl, before dropping 110 feet. This drop, even in the front row, is relatively snappy, and is a great complement to the underwhelming first drop. Next up is a tight dive loop, and then one of my favorite moments on the ride, a hang time filled 0G winder. This element seriously has better hang time than most 0G stalls. It's insane. Valravn then ends it off with a short airtime hill before heading into the final brake run. And that ends your 3,415-foot long journey on Valravn. Next, let's talk about the trains, and more specifically, the restraints. Valravn features the B&M vest restraints. Now, I used to say that these restraints were really good and did not restrict much of anything. But the more I ride roller coasters with these restraints, the more I realize how restrictive these restraints are on your body. I mean, it is basically impossible to put your hands up or even move around in your seat. And as the ride progresses, the restraints tighten, making them even more restrictive. Luckily, these restraints don't restrict forces too much, and I believe B&M have fixed this issue on some of their newer roller coasters with these restraints. As for how the trains look, they look really nice. The light blue and navy colored trains contrast well with the bright orange track. Overall, these trains are okay, but the restraints aren't my favorite. And the final part of our review is going to be the theming. But first, let's take a journey into Danish folklore. In Danish folklore, a Valravn is like an ordinary raven, but instead of feasting on whatever ravens eat, Valravns feast on the souls of fallen warriors. In fact, Valravn translates to Raven of the Slain in Danish. But this theme is not really represented other than a few banners and posters in the queue. This ride is definitely more dressed up than themed, which is actually pretty good for the park it's in. Final thoughts. Valravn is a fun ride, and filled a gap in Cedar Point's lineup when it opened. But with the opening of Siren's Curse, a ride that has the same gimmick with a better layout, right around the corner, literally, Valravn has sort of fallen into irrelevance in the stacked Cedar Point lineup. And to be honest, that is the harsh reality of almost any ride at Cedar Point. There will always be bigger and better rides getting built almost every year, which makes the once kings of the park fall into the category of supporting cast rides. And even a ride as new as Valravn has fallen into that category just 8 quick years after its inception. And so, to wrap it all up, Valravn is good, but not good enough. At least for this park. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.